I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Gardner Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start roll call to my far right.
Simmons Lee here.
Hanson here.
Mater here.
Bowden here.
McNear here.
Deaton here.
Ford here.
Okay, we have a quorum, 7 commissioners present. First item is our consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item from either the Planning Commission or from the floor, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. We have one item on consent agenda. It's the standing approval of the minutes as written for the meeting on May 26, 2020. Anyone have anything they'd like to change or remove that item from the consent agenda? Seeing no one wanting to remove it, I'll accept a motion to accept standing approval of the minutes as written for the meeting on June 26, 2020. Okay. Motion made by Commissioner McNear and seconded by Commissioner Ford. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. First item on our regular agenda is Prairie Trace Meadows, AFDP-20-02. Bob.
Good evening. Good evening. Item 1, Prairie Trace Meadows, Final Development Plan, FDP 20-02, and also the final plat, FP 20-02. Could you pull up my notes with that? Sorry. Could you pull up my notes with that? Wait 1 second. Sorry about that. First project is Prairie Trace Meadows. It's 27 lot subdivision, part of the development, the full development of the Prairie Trace development, which is about a 356 lot subdivision and associated commercial. As you can see from this slide, this is the 27 lots in question. These are compact housing with 50-foot wide lots, and there's 27 lots in total. This is a little closer up. It also includes Houston Road and also New Trails Parkway as part of the final development plan and also the final plat. This is an example of some of the elevations of the homes that are being proposed for the development. Staff findings on the final development plan. The final is generally in compliance with the preliminary development plan. The project is consistent with various policies in the comprehensive plan, and the proposed arrangement of the buildings and open space is consistent with good planning and engineering practices and principles. The architecture, as you saw from the previous slide, and building design use quality materials, and the style is appropriate for the context. Earlier, a couple of weeks ago, the County Airport Authority heard this project and has sent this project to the County Commission with a favorable recommendation. They have several deviation requests. The first is from section 1708030A, planting requirements, table 8-1, other open areas generally. The standard is one tree per 10,000 square feet on the lot, and the proposed by the applicant is one tree per lot. The second deviation request is section 1708030A, planting requirements. Table 8-1, other open areas generally. The standard is one shrub per 5,000 square feet, and the developer is proposing that they just do 2 shrubs per lot. Section 1707050C, frontage design standards, neighborhood yard design and performance standards. The standard is one small tree for every 50 feet of frontage, or one medium or large tree for every 100 feet of frontage, in addition to the required street trees. And the proposal for this is no frontage trees. Staff recommends approval of the final development plan for Prairie Trace Meadows, first phase, with the conditions outlined in the recommended motion. After review of application FDP-20-02, a final development plan for Prairie Trace Meadows on a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final development plan dated April 17th, 2020, and staff report dated April 28th, 2020. The Plan Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. 1. Revise the landscape plan to update the information regarding 177th Street to be a collector standard street. 2. Potential condition regarding deviation 3. Remove condition if deviation to omit frontage trees is to be granted. 3. Update the plans to reflect any approved deviations. 4. Revise the plat to show utility or drainage easements between lots 8 and 9, lots 17 and 18, and lots 19 and 20. 5. Record a drainage easement by separate instrument for the storm sewer that is planned to be west of the phase boundary. 6. Add a note to the face of the plan that states that the street geometry for New Century Parkway is conceptual in nature and shall be designed based on the recommendations from the traffic impact study, and shall gain approval from the Kansas Department of Transportation and the City of Gardner. 7. The applicant shall obtain approval of the final stormwater management plan from the Public Works Department. 8. Applications Z20-01, PDP 2020, and PP 2001 shall be approved, which I believe which they have, and all conditions met prior to the release of any building permits for this application. 9. Provide a written agreement that the Southern Star has reviewed the plans and agreed to the proposed street crossing and 10-foot concrete trail and associated easements to be located within their 66-foot gas pipeline easement. And 10, the applications shall be reviewed and approved by the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners prior to the publication of an ordinance by the City of Gardner governing body.
Thank you, Bob. I see we have the developer here remotely. Did you have anything that you would like to add? Your name and address, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, sound good.
Travis Schramm, with President of Garner Development. My address is 11282 South Belmont Street, Olathe, Kansas. I want to apologize for the time that we spent in the April meeting working on this project in Oroville, and I was not apprised of the staff's opinion not to recognize our efforts to support the minimum landscaping requirements we were implementing in the HOA until the packet was released. At that point, it was too late to make adjustments. I want to ensure you that we're not attempting to downgrade the minimum landscaping requirements. We're attempting to make them transparent to builders, as well as effective and applicable to all lots. During the last meeting, we talked about flexibility being provided at the building permit stage. But if the code is not applicable to all lots, then it really isn't a minimum standard. Our development is unique in that we have lot sizes that are not currently contemplated by the development code. But but identified by this planning commission and the city council that to serve the city well. And so what we're trying to do is put some things in place to get some vertical articulation by trying to require large trees instead of small trees. As you might know, this field is very clear of any kind of trees right now, and what we're trying to do is get some vertical articulation quickly. So by requiring a larger grade of street tree, requiring a larger grade of general space trees, we can get larger trees, but those trees put up 50-foot canopies. I don't know if you look at the landscape plan that you have in front of you guys, the trees are illustrated, and I can put it up on my PowerPoint, but I'm not sure if you can see the screen. There's like a 15-foot canopy that it's contemplating in there. But if you, at full growth, these trees have a 50-foot canopy, and on the street trees, on a 50-foot frontage lot with a 50-foot canopy tree, there's just not much left of the yard to have a mature tree in that space. And so what we're trying to do is take another plant and put it in the backyard and get some general coverage around these lots, because almost all of these lots either face a road in the rear or an open space to the rear, and so they're wanting to distribute the planting materials throughout the lot to provide shade and coverage for the rest of the lot. So that's kind of what we're attempting to do with these deviation requests. So with that, I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Travis. This is not a public comment item. And actually, I don't think we have anyone from the public to speak, so we'll move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner Simmons.
I don't have any comments.
Commissioner Hanson.
I just had a few as I was kind of reviewing my notes here for the meeting. I see that the standard is 1 tree per 10,000 square feet placed anywhere on the lot, and we're proposing 1 tree per lot. What is the approximate average size of each lot? How many square feet?
They're about 6,000 feet. There's only one lot that goes over 10,000 feet, and it's like 11. So that's really not applicable to any lots, but except that one. It has multiple street trees in it. So it kind of negates that a little bit. But we want to be uniform. What we want to put in front of our builder team is to say, look, this is the requirement. As you look at the lots and as customers come in and look at the lots and they have a house that they want to put, they know exactly what they're getting into. The street tree plan, and then there's an additional tree and the shrubs.
All right, thank you for that. I did have one other question. I'm looking at section 2 here, where it talks about while we intend to have the landscaping minimums imposed by the homeowners association, we have worked to mitigate the concerns of staff. I think at our last meeting, the time we talked about this, we talked about the uncertainty that I think the commission felt with the homeowners association and not necessarily being able to guarantee that the standards would be kept up. What kind of reassurances can you give us that the homeowners association will try to play by the rules as best as possible?
Well, we control the homeowners association until there's I think it's an 80% flip over on this one. So until 80% of the lots are owned by the homeowners association is controlled by the developer. Obviously, we have a very vested interest in making sure we have a quality development, and that when we approve the building plans as they come into the development, we're putting in minimum requirements. So the minimum requirements that we're talking about here tonight are dictated by the final plat and recorded, but then we'll have additional requirements on top of that. Typically, it's a dollar amount to be spent per lot. And that's kind of what we were talking about. In our last meeting, we were trying to use the HOA to control the 1 tree per additional tree per lot, the number of shrubs per lot. We were attempting to utilize that function, and city staff informed us that they didn't feel comfortable that was the way this was going to get resolved. So we took those requirements and put them as stipulations on the final plat, but we'll still have those dollar amounts on top of that.
And then I guess the last question I would have is, I don't have my notes from the April meeting, but it feels as if since that time, you guys have kind of made an effort to maybe meet in the middle with the codes that have been kind of discussed here over the last couple of months. It sounds like what you're presenting to us today is a little bit more improved than what we saw back in April. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. I think what we were attempting to do in the past, we were using the wrong mechanism. And that was probably a conversation that we should have had prior to going to Planning Commission. I feel like we're trying to use the right mechanism now, recording these things on the final plat. And so should, for whatever reason, we're no longer the developer or the HOA decides to take a different course, which they, like I said, they can't do, we still have those kind of minimum requirements recorded with the ground in the final plat.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Mader.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Hi, Travis. Good to see you.
Hi.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us remotely. So, from what I'm reading in the staff report, right, there is going to be one tree on each lot. There is going to be one shrub on each lot, along with street trees. There's no frontage trees. Sorry, Travis. That was more of a question for staff.
That's correct, and that's the deviation you're asking for.
It's actually 2 shrubs per lot.
So I'm sorry. You're right, Travis.
Sorry.
Yeah, 2 shrubs.
Sorry.
You're right. I see your proposal of 2 shrubs per lot. Okay. So then I was looking at the landscaping plan, and I know, Travis, you had said during your presentation that they'd be located in the backyard. I didn't see that on the map.
So the landscape plan just shows the frontage trees,
Right.
and not the other areas, generally trees, right?
Well,
So
what do you mean, other areas generally?
So in the code, there's an additional tree per 10,000 square feet. Those are referred to in the code as other areas generally trees. And so per every 10,000 square feet, you have to add another tree. And it can go anywhere on the lot. So what we're essentially doing is saying, hey, yes, we want that tree, we want an additional tree, but that tree is not dictated to the front or the back, right? The frontage trees are dictated to the front, and given the tight nature of these homes, and our proposal is to require large street trees. So those gives large canopies and at 2-inch calipers going in, so they're already pretty big. The biggest complaint of people buying new homes is there's no trees, and the trees that are not very big.
You're exactly
So
right.
instead of having multiple smaller trees, we're wanting to focus on one large tree on the street tree and an additional large tree,
Per lot.
which we would, and that can go anywhere. Now, if the homeowner decides they can put it in the front, that's fine. They want to put it in the back, that's fine too.
Okay.
We're just trying to give them that flexibility.
But there will be an additional 2 shrubs and a tree for every lot.
Correct.
Every single lot is going to be guaranteed 2 shrubs and a tree, just not placed in a random open space to accommodate for square footage. It's going to be like Adriana has lot number 1, Eric has lot number 2, and we're living next door to each other in these 6,000-foot parcels, right? And
Correct.
Adriana has 2 shrubs and a tree, and Eric has 2 shrubs and a tree.
Correct. And plus the frontage, plus the street tree, right?
Right.
So in addition to that, so it just helps. It helps the builders come in and the consumers come in and say, look, I've got to put a tree. I've got my street tree plan. I've got additional tree, and I need 2 shrubs. And that's where we call it a community addendum. It just says when the builders come in and I have this house and it costs X, and the community landscaping requirements cost X, we add those together and away we go, right? And it just makes it easier as they say, well, I like lot 7, well, maybe lot 12, or maybe lot 11. There's not all these calculations about, well, that one has this many linear feet of frontage, which means you need an extra frontage tree, and and that one goes from, 10,000 feet to 11,000 feet, and now you need an extra tree. It just makes the calculations so much easier for the consumer.
Yeah, and also, from the consumer perspective, it's a field. We all know it's a field. There is nothing out there. It's bone dry. So they're definitely going to want a tree in their backyard. And I get what you're saying. From a building perspective, you might not want to put another tree in front. It just doesn't make sense. But hey, I'm going to want a tree in my backyard for shade. And I would think every house on that block, every lot would want a tree. And that's what I'm wanting to make sure, that it's every lot, 2 shrubs, 1 tree, every lot. It's not just, well, hey, we're going to just put all 27 trees into this one open area.
No, that's not our intent. The intent is to make the requirements of our builders, 1 tree, 2 shrubs per lot, the end.
And then we also have the street trees, but that wasn't, really in the discussion.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then just out of curiosity, the 285 native tree saplings, you'll just have to forgive me, because in my mind, I think of a tree sapling when I grew them when I was like in elementary school, out of a little styrofoam cup. Can you give me an idea of how big those saplings are to date?
About 12. Right now, they're about 12 inches. Mm-hmm. But what we did is we brought in thousands of them. And as you know, we have those native wetlands areas throughout the entire development. So what we did is we went in and put those saplings in all the wetland areas. Because they're native plantings, we can do that. And we put them out throughout the development. So obviously in this first phase, hopefully they'll get a little height on them before we get to sale of these lots. But they're probably going to be 2 to 3 feet tall in that range.
Right, sure.
By the time we get into the last phases, we could be 8 years down the road, and those could be substantial trees. And so we went into the whole development and placed those trees. We placed thousands of them.
Near the wetland areas. That's great to hear versus just, throwing them out in the
No.
Oh,
We had the land surveyed, the wetland areas marked out with string. We got a team together. We brought in thousands of these saplings, and we did a species variation and went through I think I named them in my
you did. Yeah, no, thank you.
But I think we did about 2,500 different throughout the entire development. But this is specifically the wetlands that are contemplated in these final plats, that 285. So.
Okay.
We worked with Kansas Extension to identify the appropriate seeds and seedlings and whatnot.
Excellent. That's a good partnership to have. Okay, I don't really think I have any other questions at this time, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner McNair?
Travis, thank you for coming tonight. You put together a quality development. I think it's going to be a great addition to the city of Gardner. We look forward to completing this project and bringing the new residents to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Commissioner Deaton?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Ford?
I don't have any questions either. Just, thanks for joining us and giving us an opportunity to talk about it.
Okay. And Travis, you answered the concerns I had in the last meeting. I like the fact that it's part of the plat, and I think that it's worked out really well. So thank you, and thanks to the city. Okay, with no further comments.
I have one more question for
go
staff
ahead.
before we go into a motion. Just back to my question, taking the map literal as far as the landscaping and not seeing, all that was shown was street trees. Do we need to have that as part of the motion to ensure that we have a landscape plan that shows the shrubs and the trees, or am I getting too far ahead in the process? How do we ensure that, Larry?
You currently have the street trees shown on the landscape plan, which is part of the final plat assembly. I think if you wish to word and the shrubs are pretty much taken care of, I think, in there. But if you wish to add the additional tree per lot, you could make that an additional part number 11, or you could modify one of the others if it talks about trees, and you're gonna have to go back and read them.
Okay.
To add that. Might be simpler just to add it as 11.
As an 11. which, okay,
And that would just be on the final plat,
right.
a note.
So
So it
we're,
wouldn't be on this
so
recommendation.
it'll be on the, it'll be on
next one.
item 1B instead of
Yeah, it'd be
1A.
on item 1B.
Okay,
not-
thank you. All right, I was getting ahead of myself. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, without any further comments, I'd accept a motion on this item.
Can you go back a page on the presentation? We're on number 5 that's shown there. Okay. After review of application FDP 2002, a final development plan for Prairie Trace Meadows on a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final development plan dated April 17th, 2020, and staff report dated April 28th, 2020. The Planning Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. 1, revise the landscape plan to update the information regarding 177th Street to be a collector standard street. 2, potential condition regarding deviation number 3, remove condition if deviation to omit frontage trees is to be granted. 3, update the plans to reflect any approved deviations. 4, revise the plat to show utility or drainage easements between lots 8 and 9, lots 17 and 18, and lots 19 and 20. Number 5, record a drainage easement by separate instrument for the storm sewer that is planned to be on the west of the phase boundary. Number 6, add a note to the face of the plan that states that the street geometry for New Century Parkway is conceptual in nature and shall be designed based on the recommendations from the traffic impact study and shall gain approval from the Kansas Department of Transportation and City of Gardner. 7, the applicant shall obtain approval of the final stormwater management plan from the Public Works Department. 8, application Z-20-01, PDP-20-02, and PP-20-01 shall be approved and published, and all conditions met prior to the release of any building permits for this application. 9, provide a written agreement that Southern Star has reviewed the plans and agrees to the proposed street crossings and 10-feet concrete trail and associated easements to be located within their 66-foot gas pipeline easement. Number 10, the application shall be reviewed and approved by the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners prior to the publication of an ordinance by the City of Gardner governing body.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Ford and a second by Commissioner McNear. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Item FP-20-02, 1B.
And Commissioner Broden, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind giving the presentation from right here. We're having some slight technical problems with that
Okay.
monitor up there. Can everybody hear me? Staff findings for the final plat. The final plat is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat. No deviations are requested with this plat. No excise tax is levied with this plat. The project is within 1 mile of New Century Air Center, has been reviewed by the Airport Authority, and sent to the County Board of Commissioners with a favorable recommendation. Staff recommendation for the final plat. Staff recommends approval of the final plat for Prairie Trace Meadows, first phase, with the conditions outlined in the recommended motion. Sure. Suggested motion for final plat. After a review of application FP-20-02, a final plat for Prairie Trace Meadows, a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final plat dated April 17th, 2020, landscape plan dated April 21st, 2020, and staff report dated April 28th, 2020. The Plan Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. Number 1, Revise the landscape plan to update the information regarding 177th Street to be a collector standard street. 2, potential condition regarding deviation 3, remove condition if deviation to omit frontage trees is to be granted. 3, update the plans to reflect any approved deviations. 4, revise the plat to show utility and drainage easements between lots 8 and 9, lots 17 and 18, lots 19 and 20. I don't know what happened here. I don't know.
Well, you're
It should be
reading,
number
I
4.
believe that first part was from the final development plan recommendation and not from the final plat.
Kind of, that was, yeah.
Where's the original?
I do apologize for that. The staff recommends approval again for the Prairie Trace Meadows first phase with the conditions outlined in the recommended motion below. Recommended motion after review of the application FP 20-02, a final plat for Prairie Trace Meadows, a portion of the tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final plat dated May 19th, 2020, and staff report dated May 26, 2020. The Planning Commission has approved the application as proposed, providing the following conditions are met. Revise the plat to provide rear lot line dimensions for the lots on the east side of Houston Street. 2, revise the plat to move the note about tract A so it does not overlap lot area information. 3, revise the plat to show utility and drainage easement between lots 8 and 9, lots 17 and 18, and lots 19 and 20. 4, provide a written agreement that Southern Star has reviewed the plans and agrees to propose street crossings and 10-foot concrete trail and associated easements to be located within their 6-foot gas pipeline easement. 5, application Z20-01 PDP-20-02 and PP-20-01 shall be approved, published, and all conditions met prior to the release of any building permits for this application. The application shall be reviewed and approved by the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners prior to publication of an ordinance by the City of Gardner governing body. 7, the applicant shall obtain approval of the final stormwater management plan from the Public Works Department prior to the release of the plat for recording. And 8, construction plans for any utilities, infrastructure, or public facilities shall meet all technical specifications, and public improvement plans shall be submitted and approved prior to the release of the plat for recording. And recommends the governing body accept the dedication of rights-of-way and easements.
Travis, do you have anything that you'd like to state on this item?
I guess I was just going to point out that this, is a similar concept to what we were discussing with the Meadows. What we're asking for is 3 shrubs per lot, 2 trees per lot, in addition to the street trees. So same concept. It's more shrubs than is typically required generally. I mean, code would say we should have 61 shrubs. This proposal puts out 81.
Travis,
Yes.
this is the final plat on Prairie Trace Meadows.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I'm having trouble with my audio.
We're
too.
going
I'm
to that
sorry.
one next, the one you're talking about. But do you have anything more on the Prairie Trace Meadows final plat?
We'll let it ride.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Cool, if we don't have anything else, Chairman, I would entertain a motion.
Just gonna make sure, is there any commissioners that have discussion items on this?
No.
Any comments?
I don't have any.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a motion.
Okay, great. After review of application after review of application FP-20-02, a final plat for Prairie Trace Meadows, a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final plat dated May 19, 2020, and staff report dated May 26, 2020, the Planning Commission approves the application as proposed provided the following conditions are met, items 1 through 8, according to the staff report, and including item 9 that states the plat needs to have landscaping included on their plan to show 1 tree and 1 shrub per lot.
2 shrubs. And then
I'm sorry,
that's
true. Jeez, I'm getting so confused. 2 shrubs and 1 tree per lot, along with what the already stated street trees.
Okay.
And recommends the governing body accept the dedication of right-of-way and easements.
All right, is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor state aye. I'm sorry. I need a second. Who's second? Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner Deaton. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. All right, regular agenda item number 2, Prairie Trace Estates, A, FDP-20-03. Bob.
This is item 2, Prairie Trace Estates, final development plan FDP-20-03, and final plat FP-20-03. As you can see from the drawing above, this is again another 27 lot subdivision. The second slide that I'm showing right here shows how all the lots are fitting on these 27 lots, and also shows some of the greenway behind them. This slide shows some of the elevations of the proposed housing that could go in on these lots. Staff findings for the final development plan. The final is generally in compliance with the preliminary development plan. The project is consistent with various policies in the comprehensive plan, and the proposed arrangement of buildings and open space is consistent with good planning and engineering practices and principles. The architecture and building design uses quality materials, and the style is appropriate for the context. Again, this project was sent by the Airport Authority to the County Board of Commissioners with a favorable recommendation. There's a deviation request from section 17.07.050C, frontage design standards, neighborhood yard design performance standards. Standard is 1 small tree for every 50 feet of frontage, or 1 medium or large tree for every 100 feet of frontage. The proposed is for no trees in the frontage, just like the previous plan. Staff recommends approval of the final development plan for Prairie Trace Estates first phase with the conditions outlined in the recommended motion. Suggested motion, after review of application FDP-20-03, a final development plan for Prairie Trace Estates on a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final development plan dated April 17, 2020, landscape plan dated April 21st, 2020, and staff report dated April 28, 2020. The Plan Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. Number 1, revise the plans for the stormwater detention and future trail shown on Tract A in the plans to match the layout from page to page. 2, provide details regarding the pedestrian amenities in Tract A, such as width of trail, materials, amenities, etc. 3, revise the plan to remove the fire turning template and truck detail to another page. 4, revise the plan to remove the detail regarding easements and turnaround at the bottom of the first page to only provide detail for the temporary turnaround. 5, revise the plans to reflect any approved deviations. 6, revise the landscape plan to update the information regarding Clare Road to be an arterial standard street type. 7, add a note to the face of the plans that pedestrian amenities shown in the current phase shall be completed prior to issuance of building permits for the next phase. 8, change the note on track D that the pool and clubhouse area will be completed prior to phase 5 development. 9, add a note to the face of the plan that states that the future street geometry for Clare Road is conceptual in nature and shall be designed based on the recommendations from the traffic impact study and shall gain approval from the city of Gardner. 10, application Z-20-01, PDP-20-02, and PP-20-01 shall be approved, published, and all conditions met prior to the release of any building permits for this application. 11, applicant shall obtain approval of the final stormwater management plan from the Public Works Department. 12, provide a written agreement that the Southern Star has reviewed the plans and agrees to the proposed street crossing and 10-foot concrete trail and associated easements to be located within their 66-foot gas pipeline easement. And 13, application shall be reviewed and approved by the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners prior to the publication of an ordinance by the city of Gardner governing body.
Thank you, Bob. Travis, if you want to speak on this, if you just give your name and address again, because it's a different regular agenda item.
You bet. Travis Schramm, President Grata Development, 11282 South Belmont Street, Olathe, Kansas, 66061. I already kind of said what I was going to say on that, sorry. But our general plan for this is it's very similar to what we were doing with the Meadows, but upping the standards because the yards are larger, 3 shrubs per lot, and 2 open area, generally trees per lot as well. This translates into more shrubs and slightly less trees, but focused on large trees. This calculation gives us 6 less trees, but we're going to all large trees and no small trees in the requirements. And so really this thing is a uptick from the kind of what's required. Usually those trees trade off small trees for large trees at 2-to-1 in the code. And we're just, we're going to large trees and just dropping 6 of 101 proposed trees in the area. So we think this is a really kind of the same kind of concept of making it very clear for the consumer, making it easy to understand what we're getting into while providing the quality of development. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Travis. Commissioner Simmons-Lee?
No questions.
Commissioner Hanson?
No question.
Commissioner Mader?
Just a clarification, Travis, just to make sure I'm on the same page. So this is going back to like what we just addressed with the Meadows. So with the estates, because they're larger lots, and obviously, I get it. We're having now 3 shrubs and 2 trees per each lot house, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
No questions.
Commissioner Munier? Commissioner Deaton?
No questions.
Commissioner Ford?
No questions.
Have none either. With no further comments, I would accept a motion.
After review of application FDP 20-03, a final development plan for Prairie Trace Estates on a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002 and final development plan dated April 17, 2020, landscape plan dated April 21, 2020, and staff report dated April 28, 2020. The Planning Commission approves the application as proposed, providing the following conditions are met. Number 1, revise the plans for the stormwater detention and future trail shown on tract A in the plans to match the layout from page to page. Item 2, provide details regarding the pedestrian amenities in tract A, such as width of trail, materials, amenities, etc. 3, revise the plans to move the fire turning template and truck detail to another page. 4, revise the plan to remove the detail regarding easements and turnaround at the bottom of the page, of the first page, to only provide detail for the temporary turnaround. 5, revise the plans to reflect any approved deviations. 6, revise the landscape plan to update the information regarding Clare Road to be an arterial standard type or street type. 7, add a note to the face of the plans that pedestrian amenities shown in the current phase shall be completed prior to issuing building permits for the next phase. Item 8, change the note on track D that the pool and clubhouse area will be completed prior to phase 5 development. 9, add a note to the face of the plan that states that future geometry for Clare Road is conceptual in nature and shall be designed based on recommendations from the traffic impact study and gain approval from the city of Gardner. 10, applications Z-20-01, PDP 20-02, and PP 20-01 shall be approved and published prior, and all conditions met prior to the release of any building permits for this application. 11, the applicant shall obtain approval of the final stormwater management plan from the Public Works Department. 12, provide a written agreement that Southern Star has reviewed the plans and agrees to the proposed street crossings and 10-foot concrete trail and associated easements to be located within their 66-foot gas pipeline easement. 13, the application shall be provided and approved by the Johnson County Board of County Commissioners prior to the publication of an ordinance by the City of Gardner planning or governing body.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner McNair and a second by Commissioner Ford. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. We have regular item 2B, FP-20-03, Bob.
This is a close-up of the lot layout for the final plat. The staff findings on the final plat. The final plat is in substantial compliance with the preliminary plat. No deviations are requested with this plat. No excise tax is levied with the plat. The project is within 1 mile of the New Century Air Center and has been sent by the Airport Authority to the County Board of Commissioners with a favorable recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the final plat for Prairie Trace Estates, first phase, with the conditions outlined in the recommended motion. After review of application FP-20-03, a final plat for Prairie Trace Estates, first plat, a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and a final plat dated April 17, 2020, and staff report dated April 28, 2020. The Plan Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. Number 1, revise the plat to remove the Johnson County Fire Pierce 100 ladder truck text under the legal description. Application Z-20-01, PDP-20-02, and PP-20-01 shall be approved, published, and all conditions met prior to the release of any building permits for this application. 3, the applicant shall obtain approval of the final stormwater management plan from the Public Works Department prior to the release of the plat for recording. 4, the construction plans for any utilities, infrastructure, or public facilities shall meet all technical specifications, and public improvement plans shall be submitted and approved prior to the release of the plat for recording. And recommends the governing body accept the dedication rights, right-of-way, and easements.
Thank you, Bob. Travis, do you have anything to add to this one?
I have no additional comments.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does any of the commissioners have any comments that we'd like to make towards this?
I have a question.
Okay, Commissioner?
The dates in the motion and the binder are different than the ones on the screen. Right? Or am I
Yes, the
seeing
binder
something?
has May 19th and June 23rd. You have April 17th and April 28th on the motion on the presentation.
I'm guessing it's probably correct as on the piece of paper.
It's the last page before their application.
Is the one in our binder the right one?
The one in your binder is correct.
Is the right
This,
dates.
this project was forwarded to this meeting from the April meeting, so we'll go with these dates that we have up on the screen.
Go with the dates on the screen, the April 17th
The
and
dates on
April
the
28th.
screen,
That is correct.
but your staff report's different.
Staff report is
Your
incorrect.
staff report is today, June 23rd, right?
This is basically the same version of what you heard back in the April meeting, so I kept
But
the
it's not the
dates.
same. It's different.
Okay.
So do we want April 17th and June 23rd?
It should be staff report dated June, well, whenever you wrote the staff report, which is not today, but whatever date you wrote the staff report, which is not April 28th, because it's different. If the plat's not changed, then the final plat, I assume, is still April 17th. Yes. Okay,
So we need April 17th for the first date and June 23rd for the
well,
second date.
no, because June 23rd is today, and I don't think they did the staff report today. I think they did the staff report, I'm guessing, probably May 19th. Or is it today?
We always put today's
Oh,
date
okay.
for that staff
I'm getting-
meeting, because that's when
okay.
it's presented.
I'm getting wrapped up in dates.
So,
Okay,
so basically, we just need to change, if you're looking at the screen, you need to change it from April 28th to June 23rd.
okay.
Okay. Did you have anything else, Commissioner Simmons-Lee? And Commissioner Mader, it looked like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, if there's nothing from Commissioner Hanson.
She's done.
I was just kind of curious, the removal of the Johnson County Fire Pierce 100-foot ladder truck, what exactly is that all about?
Okay, so when they do a traffic study, one of the things they do on the plat is on the computers, they take a model of the vehicle that the local fire department, the biggest vehicle that they would have to drive on that road, and they would actually, it's kind of cute, drive it through the road system. But what we're trying to do is we're removing the text that's on there simply because it clutters the plat and it's not needed on the plat. It's something they have to do, and they show that to us, that it will drive through the system, but it's not a needed piece of information on the plat. So we're asking for that to be removed.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner Hanson? Okay, Commissioner Mader.
Yeah, thank you. Just one clarification again for staff, since this is the final plat section of this item, and we talked again about the landscaping, and would this also be another point where we'd want to have an additional item added, number 5, to state the 2 trees and 3 shrubs per lot, because it's not on the landscaping plan? Okay, thank you. Just
I
need
actually figured
clarification.
you'd just make that motion and add that on there.
That. Yep.
Commissioner McNair,
No questions.
Commissioner Deaton, Commissioner Ford.
No question.
I have nothing further either, so with no further discussion, I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion that after review of application FP-20-03, a final plat for Prairie Trace Estates, first plat, a portion of tax ID CF 231429-3002, and final plat dated April 17, 2020, and staff report dated June 23, 2020. The Planning Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. Items 1 through 4 as wrote in the staff report, adding item number 5 to show on the landscape plan the 2 trees and 3 shrubs per lot, and recommends the governing body accept the dedication of right-of-way and easements.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner Hanson. Is there any further discussion on the motion that's given? Okay, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Travis.
I have a quick question, Scott.
Yes, Commissioner.
When we're reading the motions, I'm fine if we just say as written in what the reports are, but since we're streamed, does it need to have everything said out loud as part of the meeting, or does it just need to state that it's part of what the staff report was?
Well, I mean, my opinion, you can obviously ask everybody else, but my personal opinion is the packet is available to all the public, and they can follow along and see what's in the packet via the.
I just didn't know legally
computer,
which was,
the-
if it was something like that, or
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend I know the precise answer off the top of my head, although I appreciate you thinking it might. As long as this packet is online and available to everyone streaming at home, I don't have a problem with approving it as written. So I think
Okay.
that was all right,
Good clarification.
especially since I think staff read it in beforehand, so they've at least heard it once when it's approved.
Okay. Right. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. All right, again, thank you, Travis. Next, regular agenda item number 3, SP-20-04, Culver's Restaurant. Bob?
All right, let's see if this machine cooperates with me. This is item 3, site plan for Culver's. Site plan is for a vacant lot on the west side of Gardner Road, approximately 600 feet south of 188th Street. There is commercial zoning along all sides of the site. This property was annexed into the city back in 2001 and has underwent several subdivision plats, with the most recent being the Quick Trip store number 294, a 2-lot subdivision which received approval earlier this year. The Culver site is located on lot 2 of that subdivision. As you see, the facility is adequately accommodated on this site and benefits the function and design of adjacent property by providing for the continuation of a shared access drive between the internal access drive located adjacent to the north line and extending to Gardner Road. Site circulation is adequately accommodated based on the truck turning template that was provided. The plan shows the required number of trees and provides a continuous hedgerow along Gardner Road. The plan also provides for an ADA compliant sidewalk from the building to the sidewalk along the west side of Gardner Road. The LDC, the Land Development Code provides that the development site shall include direct sidewalk connection in most direct manner with adjacent sites where pedestrian connections through public streetscapes or internal access is remote. However, if this site took a direct route to the sidewalk would not have been able to accommodate the persons that have mobility issues. Again, if you look at the slide, you'll see the sidewalk that's colored in blue. Instead of making it a direct access or the shortest route, the slopes would have been too great and anybody with mobility issues wouldn't have been able to get up to the site. The attractive building meets design standards with a variety of complementary materials, awning and parapet heights to add interest. The Land Development Code provides that no use shall provide greater than 20% more than the minimum required parking, which is 54 spaces in this case, without documented evidence of actual parking demand. The proposed is 63 spaces, which is based on studies of similar uses in similar contexts. And that any parking permitted over 20% more than the minimum shall require mitigation of potential impacts through one or more stated strategies. The applicant has provided documentation explaining the need for the proposed parking. They need an additional 9 spaces for employees, and they are providing additional buffers and vegetation to screen parking. Additional foundation, landscaping, and continuous shrubs bordering along the east frontage as seen on the previous slides. Staff recommends approval. The site is capable of accommodating the buildings, uses, and other site design elements. The design and arrangement of buildings and open space is consistent with good planning and landscaping design. The architecture and building design uses quality materials and the style is appropriate for the context. The plan is in substantial compliance with the code. Staff recommendation, Staff recommends approval of the site plan subject to the following conditions. The final plat for Quick Trip Store number 0294 shall be recorded with the Johnson County County Recorder's Office and Tax Administration prior to the issuance of a building permit. 2, approval of the traffic impact study and stormwater management plan by the City of Garner Public Works Department prior to the issuance of a building permit, and that the signage application is approved, which is done on a separate application. Suggestion motion, after review of application SP-20-04, a site plan for Culvers located on the west side of Gardner Road, approximately 600 feet south of 188th Street, and site plan dated May 8th, 2020, and staff report dated June 23rd, 2020. The Plan Commission approves the application provided the following conditions are met. Number 1, final plat for Quick Trip Store number 0294 shall be recorded with the Johnson County Records and Tax Administration prior to the issuance of a building permit. 2, approval of the traffic impact study and stormwater management plan by the City of Gardner Public Works Department prior to the issuance of a building permit, and signage application approved.
Thank you. If the applicant's present, if you want to speak, you can at this time.
I'm here. Hey, how's it going?
If I can get your name and address, please, and if you can come up to the mic.
Sorry.
Thank you.
My name's Will Dubois. I'm with Davidson Architecture. We're located at 4301 Indian Creek Parkway in Overland Park, Kansas.
Thank you.
This is a Culver's. I think many people probably been there, familiar with it. It's pretty standard for Culver's. And we try to follow the city code and everything, so everything should probably line up with your expectations for landscaping. We've gone back and forth with Quick Trip to make sure our stuff aligns with theirs as far as the drive access and to get visibility for the building while still screening it with landscaping from the parking and everything else. So if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner discussion, Commissioner Simmons Lee.
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Hanson,
I do not have any questions.
Commissioner Mader.
No questions, just a comment. This is a great plan. Excited to have Culver's. The landscaping looks great, and I'm also happy to see that there's no direct access to Gardner Road. Thank heavens. So this is good.
Commissioner McNair.
No questions.
Commissioner Deaton.
No questions.
Commissioner Ford.
No question.
And I have none either. So without any further discussion, I'll accept the motion.
After review of application SP-20-04, a site plan for Culver's located on the west side of Gardner Road, approximately 600 feet south of 188th Street, and site plan dated May 8th, 2020, and staff report dated June 23, 2020, the Planning Commission approves the application provided the following conditions are met. The final plat for Quick Trip Store number 0294 shall be recorded with the Johnson County Records and Tax Administration prior to the issuance of a building permit. 2, approval of the traffic impact study and stormwater management plan by the City Gardner Public Works Department prior to the issuance of a building permit. And 3, signage application approved.
You have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hanson and a second by Commissioner McNair. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. It's the end of our regular agenda. Just double checking on discussion items. It shows a 1 title. Was that just something left over from a draft? Or did we have a discussion item?
Called title.
Yeah. There's a number 1.
Yeah, no, that was a filler item and it should have been removed. Sorry.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to double check. Okay. With no discussion items, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ford. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner McNair to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned.